Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Stefan, and in this video I want to give you a guide to buying your first piano or upgrading to a new piano. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. I would like to say a big thank you to my Patreons for supporting this channel. You can see the names on the screen now. You guys have been asking me many times before during my lives and in comments to talk about what kind of pianos to buy for beginners or intermediates, what's the difference between them, which one I would recommend, and lots of similar questions. So I thought it's time to do that video now. Now I understand it's a little bit too late for Christmas, but this video is not just for Christmas, it's for the entire year. And I do know that many people start piano at the start of the new year as kind of a New Year's resolution, or let's do something new this year. So it might still be a useful watch to those of you. Now, a few things I want to disclose right at the start of the video. The first thing is that I'm going to mention in this video quite a lot Yamaha and Kawai. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because those two brands are kind of international and the most popular and easiest to get access to in most countries. And they are quite consistent, so wherever you buy them, they sound and feel quite similar. I am not an affiliate for those companies. This video is not sponsored by any company, and I'm not being paid by Yamaha or Kawai to promote their pianos. I wish I was, but I'm not. So that's number one. The second thing is that this video is obviously aimed at beginners and intermediate students, because if you're an advanced pianist, then buying your piano is a much more intricate decision, and you're not going to watch my videos to make that decision. You're going to go into showrooms and spend a lot of time at every single piano and try to find the one that fits your personality, the one that feels right for you. But when you're a beginner and you're buying your first piano, or you're not a beginner but you don't know so much about pianos, it can be extremely confusing to understand the difference between certain pianos, especially now with digital pianos and hybrids and silent pianos and upright pianos, baby grands, and so on, and the price difference is enormous between these different options. So you want to know that you're spending your money in the right way, and this video hopefully is going to give you a little bit of a guide and also more information about the difference between these pianos. Obviously I can't talk about every single brand in the world, so I'm just going to give you some starters, and you can kind of compare other ones in the same price range or understand why one might be a better fit for you or not. So when it comes to pianos, there's three things that we really have to look at. One is the size, which basically refers to how many keys you have and how big the actual instrument is. So is it an upright, is it digital, is it a grand piano? The weight is going to be a huge factor here. The second thing is the sound, which is the most subjective of all. But of course, within a certain price range, all pianos will sound good. But whether that fits with your own taste is not up to me to decide in this video, but I'm just going to talk about what's the bare minimum for sound that you need to get. And the third one is the action, which we could say is the most important for beginners and intermediate students for muscle development. And the key action means like how responsive the keys are, how they feel, and whether you can do a nice key attack on them. So these are the three things that we're going to be looking at when I talk about the different piano categories. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break down all the main piano groups just so you understand what I'm talking about. So starting with the most basic one and the one that's been around for the longest is the grand piano or baby grand that you can see here, but I'm going to show photos of each. And this one obviously is an acoustic piano, and it has strings, it has key action, and is probably the best one you can go with if it's a good quality one. And the second kind of piano is the upright piano, which looks like that. So the same idea, you've got strings, action, but it's arranged in a vertical way so it can be pushed against the wall and it takes a lot less space. The action usually is not quite as good because it doesn't work with gravity, it works with springs, but Again, depending on the make and the size, some of them can outperform grand pianos. The third one is the hybrid, which basically is a wooden normal piano action, but it doesn't have any strings. So it's a digital sound that you get, but you get the good action from an actual piano. The next one is going to be good digital pianos, which are basically digital sound. The action, although it's trying to mimic an acoustic piano's action, it's nowhere near close because it doesn't have hammers and it doesn't have all the components and long keys, but it is kind of the best ones of the digital world. And then you have the more affordable digital pianos, which look almost identical, but the sound is not going to be so great and the action is going to feel even less acoustic-like or less real, less ripe. And then after that, we've got very small keyboards and cheaper keyboards, which have almost plastic feeling keys or no graded action at all, and the sound can be quite terrible, or many of them have less than 7 octaves. And that's basically all the piano categories that you can think of. Now, we've got silent pianos, but I don't think of those as a separate category, because a silent piano essentially is an acoustic piano where you can turn off the sound of the strings and play it with headphones, but essentially it's a more expensive acoustic piano because you pay for the electric feature of being able to turn it off and practice it in silence. And there's also a self-playing piano, or I think it's called disc clavier or something like that. I think it's made by Yamaha, and I don't see the point in that for anybody learning the piano, where you can load up certain pieces of music into the piano and it plays itself, so it has some mechanics to move the keys, or you can record your own playing and you can replicate that somewhere else without you being there. You know, it's a fancy function, but it's not really a human function, so I don't think that's very important for beginners and intermediate students, and also those pianos are really expensive. So let me break it down what you might need and why. So when students ask any teacher, what kind of piano should I get? Obviously, the first thing we always say is that you should get an acoustic piano, whether it's an upright or a baby grand. It's really up to your space and budget. But the point is, the first thing that we usually say is an acoustic piano, because that's the real deal. It gives you a more tactful experience. You feel the vibrations of the strings. You can really feel the long keys and the heavy keys. So it's the best thing you can get. But it's not a cheap thing to get, and it also comes with lots of maintenance like tuning, temperature, humidity, and things need to be repaired every now and then, and so on. For a long time, that's what I used to say to everybody. There is a second option now that I've talked about, which is the hybrid piano, which basically has the proper key action, but it doesn't have the strings. So it can be played with headphones, it takes a lot less space, it's lighter, and it's also cheaper in some cases, not in all cases, but it's cheaper in some cases. You don't need to worry about tuning, and you don't need to worry about components needing maintenance quite so often, and it's not so sensitive to humidity and temperature. So that's now a really good option, because it still gives you the development of muscles. Although you don't get the vibrations from the strings, it still manages to work on your fingers like an acoustic piano. So let me give you some examples and price ranges. Now, as I said, I'm going to mostly reference Kawai and Yamaha here, because they are the ones that are the easiest to get in every country, and their pianos are really consistent. So if you buy one in Germany or if you buy one in Japan, they are going to be almost identical. I don't know how they do that, but they are almost completely identical, whilst other pianos are a lot more personal. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about Steinway and Bösendorfer and Fazioli pianos, because they are luxury pianos for concert pianists. They cost anything from £50,000 all the way up, so that's not for this video. And there are lots of other smaller local brands and lots of new Chinese brands which haven't been tested for such a long time, or lots of second-hand pianos that obviously I can't talk for. But the issue with second-hand pianos is you have to try them and you have to see their condition. What I'm talking about here is new pianos. So if you want to buy a baby grand, which is the cheapest of the grand pianos, but it gives you the grand piano experience, it's a beautiful furniture, then you're looking at somewhere with the Yamaha GB, which is their entry baby grand piano, for around 9,000, £9,000. Now, when I'm talking about pounds, think of it as it's the same in dollars, but 1-2 more. So £9,000 is roughly $11,000. So very similar in price range, a little bit more in dollars. But again, these are prices that I found around me, and they are going to be different in other parts of the world. The second piano by Yamaha, which is the baby grand, is the GC, which is 15K, so 15,000. And that one is a little bit longer, has better key action. So from the two, I would choose the latter. But again, there's a huge price difference between the two. Now, Kawai has their own entry-level baby grand piano as well, which is the GL10, and that's only 7.5K. So if you want to go for the baby grand and you've got that budget and you want to go for a really nice upgrade after your digital piano, or you want to get your first piano and you really want to inspire yourself, then those are the two kind of entry-level baby grands on the market, which are the most popular. But of course, if you want to go for a second hand or a different brand, you can go to your local showroom and try them out. But that's kind of the price range you're looking at. Somewhere between 8 to 15K is for a starting price for a good baby grand piano. Now let's go to the uprights, which are far more popular because they take less space and they're slightly cheaper. So Yamaha has the B pianos, which are the absolute cheapest, and they are around 3K, so $4,000, £3,000. They are quite small, quite short, and the key action is quite soft, not quite as responsive. And although it's an acoustic piano, it's the cheapest one you can get as a new piano, I would probably not suggest that one. Instead, I would rather go for a very good hybrid piano. But for a little bit more, for 5,000, you can get some reconditioned U3 or U1 pianos. And for 10,000, you can get a brand new U series piano, which is a much better piano, much taller and longer strings. So it gives you a much nicer bass section, and also the keys feel a lot nicer. So that's for Yamaha. So the cheapest you can go is 3K. But I would probably not advise that one if you want to save money. There are better options than that. And if you want, if you don't have the space for a grand piano, but you really want the acoustic good experience, then go for the U series or above that. Kawai has two similar series as well. One of them is the 15, so K15, which is their entry one, the smallest one, very similar to the B pianos in Yamaha. And they are again 3K. And they have the 300, 400 series, which is similar to the U pianos. And they are 5K, so much cheaper than the U series. And these would be my first suggestions to parents and anyone trying to buy upright pianos. And again, I'm stressing this, I'm not suggesting only these two brands because nothing else is good. It's because they are the easiest to find and reference. There are so many other brands that I don't even know about. Even if I go into a showroom here in Glasgow, there are lots of older British brands that they store, but you need to try each and every piano out because you don't know how it's going to sound. But when you refer to a new Yamaha or a new Kawai, you know how it's going to sound and how it's going to feel, because these two manufacturers have very good consistency. Let's go on to the hybrid section, which is where we're going into the digital section. Now the hybrids, both of them, the Kawai and Yamaha, are around 5K, so £5,000, $6,000. Now they have a higher model, but that's the starting model. And those are really, really good pianos. They're digital pianos, but they have the actual acoustic grand action. Now it's not quite as big as the proper grand piano action, but they try to mimic every single movement, all the little parts of the hammer and the keys to get that real feel. And the keys are made of wood, so it's the closest you can get to the actual acoustic feel without having the trouble of tuning and taking care of the piano. And it's a lot lighter and it's cheaper as well. So I would say to many people who don't want to invest into an acoustic piano because they have neighbors and it's too loud, or maybe they can't spend that much, but they really want the best for their fingers and for their development, then I would definitely urge everybody to go for the hybrid pianos because it's the best you can get. and it's going to be the best for your development of your hands and the key action. So if you practice on a hybrid piano and then you want to go somewhere else and play on an acoustic piano, it's going to feel exactly the same. The sound will be different, but it's going to feel very similar. Now, if that price range is still very expensive to you and you don't quite want to invest so much, then we go down one category and we go into fully digital pianos. And here we have so many brands, but again, I'm going to reference the Yamaha and Kawai pianos. And here, the price range is around 1.5, where I would say is the absolute minimum for the good price range. Anything under that is kind of the beginner range. So 1.5K or $2,000 in US terms, I think, is going to get you a very good digital piano. And Yamaha has the Clavinova series, which has a very nice action, good sound. It's not going to feel like a hybrid piano, but it's a very good digital piano, and you can really start your piano journey on that one, especially in the first few grades. They also have quite nice sounds and lots of functions in them. Kawai has the same, which is the, let me see, the CA, so Concert Artist Series. And I would suggest the 400 or going up from that, and again that's around 1500. I did have one of those pianos for a very, very long time, and I was very happy with it, and I absolutely loved the sound of the Kawai digital pianos. But again, that's just closer to my heart. The Yamaha might be closer to your heart, but the Concert Artist series are really nice pianos. Some of them come in polished finish, so they look like a beautiful furniture as well in your living room. And then if you can't afford 1500 but you still want to get a fairly good digital piano, then you can go for the kind of beginner series. The Yamaha has the Arius or Arius, I think it's called Arius series, which are around $500-600 or £700, $800, and they are very similar in look to the Clavinovas, but they have a more plasticky feel action, so less nice action, and the sound is not quite so rich. So you're going to get smaller speakers, but in a much smaller, like a bedroom scenario, I think that's going to be just as fine. And remember, with all digital pianos, you can use the headphones, and then the sound is going to be just as good with all of them because the samples are usually the same. And Kawai has also an entry level, which is the KDP 75, and that costs the same, around £700 or $800. Again, picture here. Now, all of these are going to be listed in the description below, so you can find them, look at them, and compare them, and so on. Now, there are other pianos, digital keyboards under this price range. For example, Yamaha has a P series, which is I think £300 or £400. That's like a full-size keyboard as well, but it doesn't have the pedals and the casing, but it's just a keyboard. Some of my students had that keyboard, and I absolutely hated it. And I'm not saying that I hated it because it's a horrible brand. Obviously, I've been talking about Yamaha for the entire video, but it's not good for learning the piano. The keys didn't feel very good, the sound wasn't great. So if I can only spend that much money, I would rather buy a Chinese digital piano or a different brand, something that's a cheaper brand, because they will give you a better key action, a better look, and also in many cases a better sound. I don't know if it's going to last as long as a Yamaha piano, because many of these brands are so new that we don't know the longevity of them. But the very entry-level Yamahas I just don't like, and I don't think it's very good for playing the piano. And I also want to stress this, that in this video I'm talking about playing the piano, not playing the keyboard. So I'm not talking about keyboard playing chords and lead sheets and stuff, actually learning the piano, where key action is so important, and also having 3 pedals, or at least a pedal that's attached to the piano and doesn't move. It's also really important. So these are the kind of piano types that you're looking at in the different price ranges. And as a complete beginner who doesn't even know yet whether you're going to be doing this for more than 3 months or not, or if you're a parent and you're buying it for your child and you don't know if they're going to stick with piano, I always say to parents, don't spend $10,000 or pounds on a first piano if your child might give it up after 4 weeks, or if you're an adult and this is your New Year's resolution and you might not stick with it after February, then don't spend so much. Obviously, if you have the money, then money is no issue, but when money is an issue and you have a certain budget, then really think about what you're buying. If you get an Arius for yourself, something around £500-700, that's a very good starting piano. You can sell it if you give up piano. You're not going to get back all of your money, but at least you didn't spend so much, and while you were playing you had a good experience. Now, if you are serious about learning the piano, it's been a lifelong dream for you, and you're starting now and you have the budget, then as I said, if you want a digital piano, I would suggest the hybrid. If you want to go for the acoustic, then obviously you decide if you want to go for an upright or a baby grand. The baby grand is always going to be more expensive in the same kind of category, the same quality. If you live in a place where you can't have noise because you're bothering neighbors, or you live with flatmates, roommates, whatever you want to call them, then obviously you need to go for a digital piano. And again, the hybrid one is the best there because you can use it with the headphones, but you get really good key action. And finally, if you are really on a tight budget but you still want to get the best for your money, then go for the entry-level Yamaha or Kawai, which is around £700. Even if you have to borrow a little bit of money, but at least those pianos will give you a good grounding in the beginning section of your piano journey, and later on you can always upgrade when you get to a good intermediate or advanced. Now, what's the difference between all of these pianos? Like, why is key action so important? The reason why we say that for beginners it's not really that important which piano they play on, obviously it does make a difference in the development of the muscles, but you don't play repertoire that's going to sound vastly different on these pianos. But if you play very fast music, or music with lots of trills or lots of dynamics shadings, cheaper pianos will not be able to create that sound for you. You won't be able to have so many dynamics, shades, or you won't be able to play trills so quickly because the keys are not responsive enough. They're not going to be able to come up quick enough so you can play very fast on it. Or if the action is not responsive enough, you won't be able to play very fast on it, and you get frustrated that you keep practicing but you can't reach that certain speed, or it doesn't sound so brilliant. So that's why a good action is so important, because not only is going to sound better, but it's going to give you that kind of feeling of fulfillment that you practiced and now you can do it. And I know that most people, when they look at piano players, they get mesmerized by people playing fast, and that's usually very difficult to achieve on entry-level pianos because the key action is simply not good enough. Well, I hope this video was helpful and gave you a little bit of insight into all the different kinds of pianos that you can find on the market and what are the main differences between them. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.